Is NIL ruining college sports? The answer is no. Poor decision making and unrealistic expectations are surely problematic, and that's what we typically hear about when it comes to NIL. Nico Iamaleava has decided to leave the University of Tennessee after a failed renegotiation of his NIL deal. Now, when Nico was in high school, he signed an NIL deal to play for Tennessee, and it was roughly worth $2 million a year for a certain number of years. Well, he's been there. It will be going into his third year. He played a full year of football last year, put the team on his back. They went top 10, actually pretty good. And the university athletic department raked in $234 million. And the year before Nico played, they raked in $202 million. So that's roughly a $32 million increase, which the University of Tennessee reported as a record, right? So the purpose of NIL is so that athletes can be compensated for their name, image, and likeness. And it was discussed that every time you play on a football field, there's your name, image, and likeness. And even if you leave the name off the back of the jersey, it's still your image and likeness. Therefore, every football player, scholarship, or walk on is to be compensated. That's how NIL works. So there's some deals out there that have caused a lot of stir and have a lot of people like Nico who are doing really well to basically reevaluate, which is where the term renegotiate comes from. So once Carson Beck was paid $4 million for 1 year by Miami, and David Mensah was paid $4 million for 2 years, meaning $4 million each, for a total of $8 million in college ball. I'm sure Nico was like, hey, I'm only getting two. Hey, what's going on here? And there were podcasters out there back in November of 2024 basically saying that Nico's a better quarterback than Carson Beck. And this wasn't because Miami offered Carson Beck money. This was just a quarterback comparison. And I'm sure he heard that. I'm sure he heard that. I'm sure his representation knew that Tennessee had to turn over its financials to the NCAA. I'm sure they read the summary just like I did. These people made $32 million, which is a record for them in 1 year. So for him to go and request what Carson Beck is getting, and he's better than Carson Beck. David Mensah is being paid the same as Jameis Winston, who just signed a 2 year, $8 million deal, $4 million each with the New York Giants in the NFL. Of course, Nico and other QBs are trying to figure out how to reevaluate. So let's use Nico as an example of what to do and what not to do. It seems that there's no breach of contract for when a player is a no-show at practice or doesn't show up to the spring game when they sign these multi-year, multi-million-dollar NIL deals. If there is, the University of Tennessee just decided not to pursue a breach of contract when he decided to be a no-show. All right. So first and foremost, if you sign out of high school a $10 million deal paying you $2 million per year for, say, 4 or 5 years, they want you to stay there. There has to be something in your contract that says, I want to renegotiate after 2 years. Because if not, then you're going to end up in a situation like Nico Iamaleava. Now, understand, you can have a renegotiation clause that comes in at 2 years. Hell, that comes in at 18 months if you want. They don't have to agree. So what do you do? Like in Nico's case, he is reported that he went to his OC. He wants to renegotiate his NIL deal. Tennessee's like, no, we're not having it. Don't get in your feelings. Go to practice, go to the spring game, finish your obligations, and when the transfer portal opens 24 hours before, you write Tennessee a letter and say thank you for the opportunity. But I decide to go in a different direction. Hop in the portal, and there's your reputation, your skill set, and the opportunity to chase the bag. There's nothing wrong with maximizing your worth. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, it's just how you go about it. I don't understand why not, like, holding out, like, holding out. You're not going to practice. You're not going to the game. Now your reputation is being trashed. See, that's what you get when you don't fulfill your obligations. Make sure you fulfill your obligations. And when the portal opens up, no harm, no foul, especially if your NIL deal doesn't say you have to stay the entire duration of the contract. There seems to be no buyout clause, so you're free to go. So, fellas, just go with your reputation intact. That's the lesson from Nico Lavalama. Now, back in November, this young man was being praised. Everybody loved him, said he was a credit to his parents. He gave Tennessee his all. So maybe he was feeling a little emotional when he went to them and said, hey, I want to $4 million a year, which is equal to Carson Beck and David Mensah. This is what I've done. You all have generated $32 million. So, clearly I'm worth that. Well, they didn't agree. Don't be emotional. This is business. If the transfer portal opens up in 3 days, hop in it. Hop in it. So for the young men coming behind Nico, don't get in your feelings if you go to them and ask them to renegotiate because you like the Rocky Mountains and you want to stay and they don't see your value. See, here's the thing though. Now this is for Tennessee. You gonna pay somebody $4 million. Because when Miami paid Carson Beck and David Mensah was paid handsomely by Duke, who's in the middle of the pack, that sets precedence. Now these QBs have what they use in real estate, comps. I'm better than David. I'm better than David Mensah. I'm better than Carson Beck. So I'm gonna need $4 million or possibly six. Now understand this. Arch Manning has a $6.5 million valuation at UT. Shador had a $6 million valuation. By the time Travis left Colorado, he had a $6 million valuation. So $6 million is not going to be unheard of when it comes to a university wanting to retain its QB. You know why? Because they want the success to continue because the university rates in triple digits off the television deals. So with Duke University, they paid David Mensah because why people are watching, they're making money, their deals can go up. They can also renegotiate with the likes of ESPN, Fox, and CBS and say, hey, I'm gonna want more money because Duke is in demand. And that's what Nico did for Tennessee. It said that Tennessee wasn't relevant in football since Peyton Manning. Maybe to the masses, that's the case. But if Nico actually brought them back to that level of notoriety, then they should have paid him $4 million. Because if they don't pay Nico and they want another elite QB1, the number one prospect coming out of high school in the country, you're going to pay at minimum $4 million, but be prepared to pay six. All right, so y'all let me know your thoughts. Again, I do not think NIL is ruining college sports. I think players are finally getting their turn to be compensated. I think what needs to be worked out is when you want to renegotiate, how you go about it. Do not be a holdout. Finish your obligations. If the portal opens in 3 days, play the spring game. Use it as an audition. Go to the practices. Write them a nice letter thanking them for the opportunity. But be sure that you leave there with your reputation intact. And then go ahead and chase the bag. And for the universities, understand yesterday's price is not today's price. These young men, you may have won the psychological war in saying we're going to pay you $10 million, and they didn't realize that it's $2 million a year. It's not escalating money like the NFL. And wow, that's more than Lamar Jackson's contract for the first 4 years in the NFL was. Lamar Jackson's contract was escalating, so it looks like he got a raise. Whereas with Nico's contract, it doesn't look like he got a raise. It looks like his contract was outdated. It's only $2 million. Imagine if it was 1.5 the first year, 2.5 the next year, 3.5 this year, and then after last year, it was $5 million. Then guess what? He would have thought, oh, I'm staying up with the increase in demand and pay for QBs. But the way his contract was structured, it doesn't look like it. You want they're going to start with buyout clauses. I believe they're going to start with buyout clauses of finding a way to keep these players there for the duration or a buyout clause if they want to leave. And then players need to do what? I want a renegotiation clause after 2 years. Because why? Inflation, times are changing. Hell, by the time Bryce Underwood, who has a $10 million contract, I don't know how his was structured. Hopefully it was escalating. Then it'll look like he's keeping up with the times. But if it's stagnant, $2 million a year flat for long term, it's going to look like you're not making as much money as anybody else. So structure your contract properly, talk to your representation. If they tell you you can get more, cool. Finish out your obligations at your current university. If they don't want to renegotiate, send them a letter thanking them for the opportunity and be on your way to chase the bag. But make sure when you get to your next spot, your reputation is intact, because if not, you either could languish in the portal, it could diminish your value, and you could end up signing for the same money at your next university that Nico signed for at Tennessee because his reputation was being trashed. He's now being made to look difficult. Whereas in November, he was a darling. He was that guy. The way you conduct business determines how far did you go. So that's it. I don't think that NIL is ruining college sports. Like I said, I think that poor decision making is problematic and unrealistic expectations. You can figure out who I apply those to. Now, there are 9 universities that have been listed as landing places for Nico. So he might not be in the portal long, but if he is, understand that it could diminish his value, it could embarrass him, and that could be the point. And it would be because he was a no-show. And they don't want to give other players, they don't want to inspire other players to act the same way when they don't get what they want. So the way you conduct business determines how far you go. All right. So let me know your thoughts. CU's on the list as one of the teams that could be in the hunt for Nico services. I personally don't believe so, but I don't know. We live in a time where the transfer portal opens and people you thought were staying left. People have questioned if Caden would leave because he went to Tennessee previously, and now they need a QB. But so does Bill Belichick and UNC. And what did Bill Belichick just say recently? That he regretted not drafting Lamar Jackson. So maybe he learned something from that. And maybe now that he's the head coach at UNC, that he'll decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, and despite what people say about this young man, I'm going to go ahead and sign Nico. And then he will be at UNC. So, we just going to have to wait and see. That's my motto. We shall see. Oregon, who has the most NIL money, is also one of the schools listed. I'm not surprised. And to show you how rapidly things are changing, Oregon paid Dylan Gabriel $1.9 million to leave his previous school, which I think was Oklahoma, to go to Oregon. Now it's $4 million. And Dylan Gabriel is just now declaring for the draft. So that's fast. So when you're signing these contracts for 10 years, understand that by the time you get to your second year, the going rate that you signed for might be outdated. So leave yourself some wiggle room and flexibility to renegotiate. All right. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports.